Welcome to this AMA, which is for creative nonfiction. Hopefully, you've had a chance or were present at our AMA for the MST in creative writing as a whole. This session is intended as a supplementary AMA to the main creative writing session, which is actually hosted online, and we'll post the address for that in the chat. So you can go back if you haven't watched that already and watch that. That will give you answers to questions you might have about the whole structure of the MST in creative writing. What we're going to aim to do today is to talk through specific questions you might have in relation to the creative nonfiction pathway. We have 4 pathways on the AMA. They are creative on the MST in creative writing. They are creative nonfiction, fiction, poetry, and multidisciplinary. So today we've got 2 fiction specialists. So we have Midge Gillies, who is a creative nonfiction specialist, memoir, biography, multiple strings to her bow. And we have Joanne Lindberg, who again works in multiple forms of creative nonfiction. And they are going to be on hand to answer questions that you have about the course. So you'll have an opportunity. The Q&A function is going to open during this talk, but we're going to kick off by answering questions that you've submitted before this session began. So the first question we have is, can you tell me a little bit more about the structure of the poetry of the creative nonfiction pathway on the MST in creative writing? And we have a couple of illustrative slides to kick that off, and Joanne is just going to talk you through that. So I pass over to Joanne to explain that.
Okay, thank you, Joe. You should see a timetable in front of you. Now, the course is taught over 3 residencies, one a term over the year. So what you're seeing is what one residency would look like. And as you can see, there are, if you look at the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you'll see that there are 3 different modules our imaginary student has chosen, and they are all in the creative nonfiction pathway. So 3 of our modules are essays, which is short form, writing from experience, memoir, autobiography, but also whatever form you need to write from experience in, and research for creative nonfiction, which is when you need to get some information that's about somebody other than yourself, or your own, or from your not from your own experience. And we'll be offering those 3 paths in the first year, alongside another course not shown called Writing Across Genre, which will look at many, many forms of nonfiction that actually straddle lots of nonfiction subgenres. Because, of course, there are a huge number of subgenres: travel and true crime and biography and autobiography and memoir and nature writing, loads of them. So what we try to do is give you a skills-based course that you will be able to adapt to your particular area of interest. And then this is the first year of the course. In the second year, we'll be offering 3 more modules. If I can find them on my, yeah. So long form creative nonfiction, which will deal with the structural issues of writing something book length or nearly book length. And writing the more than human, which is about writing about anything, from centering anything that's not human: moss, octopuses, the universe, geological time, anything. Mm. And then writing for advocacy, because we're aware that, and in my own case as well, a lot of creative nonfiction has a sort of social or political dimension to it. And we'll look at how to use creative nonfiction for advocacy in that module. And you'll see, moving to the end of the week, Thursday, Friday workshop. So you'll be workshopping with your group, with your creative nonfiction pathway, if that's the pathway you're taking, across all 3 residencies, in fact, across all 6 over the 2 years. And you'll be working on your long project, you know, your dissertation equivalent, and you will have all that time to work on it and consider it and share it with your peers. Now, there'll also be, at the end of every module, a 1,500-word assignment, a small assignment, and then there'll be a theory and practice essay at the end of the first year. And then in the second year, which is quite exciting, I think, you'll be doing some kind of professional project and you'll be able to choose from things like helping to run a journal, running events, running a competition, running an open mic, all these various things that you could do. And one more thing with the modules, you choose 3 modules a year. You can choose, as this imaginary student has done, 3 modules from creative nonfiction, or if you wish, you can choose 2 from creative nonfiction and then 1 from one of our other streams, so from poetry or fiction. So there's some flexibility there, even when you're a creative nonfiction specialist.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joanne. You actually preempted a question we had, which is there an opportunity to study fiction even if applying for the MSc in creative writing nonfiction? And as Joanne says there, yes, so each year you're bound to do 2 of your 3 choices in your pathway, but you have another free choice. You might want to do another course in your pathway and therefore do 3 pathway choices, but you might want to do it outside of your pathway. For creative nonfiction, that would mean doing fiction, poetry, or also screenwriting. We have screenwriting options. So if that appeals, that's something extra that you could pick up. So I'd now like to direct a question towards Midge, which is a questioner who has asked, I am completing my PhD on my grandfather. Can I use my research to write his biography during the course?
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting question. Do you want me to keep the timetable up, or should I stop sharing? What do you
Let's
think?
take it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we take it down and we can
Yeah.
we can have our faces.
So there are lots of different elements to that question. So if you're doing a PhD at the moment, we would want to be convinced that you had the time to do a master's, or it might be that you will have finished your PhD and you're looking to think about what to do next. I can see lots of examples where this would be a really ideal next step for you. So I have no idea what the subject of this PhD is, but say, for example, you've been studying 19th century farming in Canada for your PhD. And well, Joanne and Joe, you're really excited by that prospect. And then you suddenly maybe you were the spark came from you that your great great grandfather had been a farmer, and that's why you wanted to know much more about the kind of social history of what he'd lived through. But because of the PhD, you didn't have a chance to do anything that was creative writing. I think this would be a really wonderful way to take that idea and really explore his life and the background to it in a very creative writing kind of way. So I can see that if that's what you want to do, this would be perfect for you. So it's just a matter of making sure you can balance the time and that you're doing something that is different from something you've studied before.
And Midge, you're proposing to teach a course on structuring these kind of
Mm.
longer form creative projects.
Yeah.
How would you think about helping? What would you have students studying? So let's say they do a module in that's 6 sessions. What will they learn over those 6 sessions?
Well, I think as with all of these modules, we'll be doing quite a bit of close reading and looking at how other writers have structured whatever they are writing about. And I think it's one of the biggest challenges in creative nonfiction, but also the most exciting as well, because you don't the traditional way of writing a biography used to be cradle to grave, and you can still do that, but also in creative writing, you can pick out a week in someone's life or even an afternoon, and you can move around and do all the things that traditionally you might think only a novelist could do. So we'd be thinking about looking at other examples, and I love doing timelines as well. So I use them quite a lot in teaching because I think it allows you to see where the dramatic points are in your story or the thing that you want to write. Because sometimes you're so close to it that you don't actually see where those dramatic points are. And to think of the rhythm of the whole piece that you're writing. And it doesn't have to be all at full pelt. You probably need some quiet moments in it as well. So we'll be thinking about all of those aspects of writing creative nonfiction.
Fantastic. Thank you. And can I direct a question to you now, Joanne, which is we have a student who is wondering, so they acquired a MA in education quite a few years ago, and they're wondering whether they would be suitable for the course. I suppose there's some kind of anxiety as to whether they need to have studied a more writing discipline. They're now doing creative writing courses, but are they a potential candidate for the course?
Yes, certainly. We have people from a variety of backgrounds, variety of ages, variety of continents even. And quite often people have a professional career behind them already. Sometimes, a writing career even, and they want to change genres. So the main thing that we're interested in is your writing practice and what you want to do with it. So yes, you are very much a candidate.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So now to go back to Midge. This is another kind of application-based question. But let's say someone wants to apply. People get quite anxious about the
Mm.
reference side of things.
Mm.
What if their references are not all from Cambridge Dons or Simon Sharma? Should they be worried?
Oh, no, they shouldn't. No. Um, we recognise that it can be quite challenging to find an appropriate reference, especially if you haven't been in education for a while, and that's absolutely fine. So we might be looking for someone that you work with, or someone who maybe is in a book club with you, or someone who knows you well and can just make you a real person. So can say, yes, I know that this applicant it has been talking about this for years. They love writing. Personally, I think they're really talented. I think this would be the right time for them to do this. Anything that like that kind of gives us a sense of you and whether this is the right time and the right course for you to pursue.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we now have a question live, which is, I feel a bit lost about the structure. Can you please tell me what is changing? Right now, in the first year, you study all genres, in year two, you pick one and specialize. Okay, this is a very good question. And probably early on, we skipped over the idea that the weeks that Joanne flashed up are going to happen 3 times a year over 2 years. So you will attend 6 of these weeks in total. And your modules are going to run, first of all, in the first year across those 3 weeks of the first year. So you're going to pick your 4 different modules. So you have your core module, which is the theory and practice of writing, and then you'll pick your 3 others, and then you're going to study them at a residential in September, at a residential in January, and then at a residential in April, and then the year will be finished. So we will expect that you will have studied at least 2 creative nonfiction modules there, but you might have studied a third one. Then in the second year, the pattern is largely the same. So you will again have the opportunity to study your modules over 3 residentials, and you will also be doing your dissertation at the same time. So that's a separate process. It's the same structure as currently is in operation, which is you meet one-to-one 5 times, whether online or in person, according to your location, with your supervisor, and they help you draft your dissertation. In second year, as Joanne mentioned, you will also have the opportunity to do the professional practices project, which will see you working with your peers to organize something, whether it be a reading or an event or an anthology or a online journal. So the big change in the structure is, as the questioner asked, we're no longer going to be offering a smorgasbord of options in the first year and specialization in the second. We're instead offering you the chance to, over 6 residentials, total over 2 years, pursue just one pathway. So you can just do creative nonfiction from start to finish. And we hope that that will be particularly useful for people who come in with a really strong idea of what they want to be doing. So it might be our questioner who wants to write this biography. Equally, it might not be a single project. You might be coming in and saying, look, I want to write creative essays on a particular theme, and you'll get your chance to do that. We're very supportive of cross-genre pollination on this course. So you might think, oh, well, I want to write a kind of lyric essay. Well, that would fit really well on the creative nonfiction pathway. So it's just a chance to be working in a pathway from day one. If you still want to pursue multiple genres during our 2 year course, you can join the multidisciplinary pathway, and that allows you to choose a range of genres each year. Your 3 modules can be in different things. So over the course of 2 years, you can have done a module in each of fiction, creative nonfiction, poetry, screenwriting, and then a couple of others of your choice. You can duplicate that again, but that will give you a range of different things. But with the creative nonfiction pathway, you can do that creative nonfiction right from the start. So my next question is, are most students, so this is a question quite a lot of students I think are sort of anxious about what our student body looks like. So Joanne, our questioner says, are most students likely to be young?
Well, a proportion are always young, but not most. We've had people in their 70s, we have people in their 20s. You usually in a typical cohort, we have this wonderful spread of ages from 20s to 60s or 70s, and everyone learns from each other. And they get on really well. I think it's a really lovely feature of the course, actually. So no, if you are not straight out of university, you will not be alone.
And I think it's really ideal to have that kind of
Yeah.
cohort that's mixed in so many different ways, because hopefully, you will have readers who are that diverse as well. And it's really helpful if someone who is older than you or comes from a different background or younger than you can raise something that you might not have spotted in your own writing. So for me, that diversity is a huge, the strong point of the course.
I totally, and just chipping in from my own point of view, although I'm a fiction tutor, I totally agree. And my best year of supervision was having a supervisee in his 70s and a supervisee in their 20s, and it was they both went at their projects wonderfully. And yeah, there's no right age to do this degree. It's just about your readiness and your excitement about doing it. So I'm just going to address one more question we have about the genres. So our questioner says, I would like to do non-fiction and fiction, two genres. So would that be multidisciplinary? I mean, in a way there you have a choice, because the structuring factor, the pathways, they will let you do 4 classes in your pathway genre and 2 extras. So you could do non-fiction and fiction via that approach. So you could do 4 fiction classes and 2 creative non-fiction classes, or 4 creative non-fiction classes and 2 fiction classes. Alternatively, you could do multidisciplinary, but that would also require you to do a couple of classes in one class in poetry and one class in screenwriting. So then you could do 2 fiction classes, 2 creative non-fiction classes, and you would also need to do one class in poetry and one class in screenwriting. One more question that I have, and I'd like to direct it to Midge, or actually both of you in turn would be great. What are we looking for in the writing sample?
So I would say, first of all, we're not looking for a Cambridge voice, whatever that is. So don't think that you have to second guess the kind of thing we'd like. Personally, I'm looking for something that has maybe a distinctive voice or has potential. I think that's the biggest thing for me, potential. So it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. But something that kind of makes me want to read on, makes me want to talk to the person who wrote it and maybe ask them about the choices they made in their writing. So they're the kind of things that I'm looking for. But Joanne, I don't know if you feel differently.
No, I feel the same. What makes me very happy when I see a really good application is I'm really interested in the writing, and that person's interest in their subject and in the way that they're writing it is evident. And I think, as Midge said, I want to read more of this. I want to ask the person about this. And yes, it doesn't have to be a Cambridgey sounding voice. It can be any sort of voice.
Yeah, and it might have parts of it that don't really work, but that's fine as well, because it's great to see that someone's maybe taking a risk, doing something that they're not sure about, because I think that sums up the ethos of the course as well, that we want people to experiment and have fun with their writing and to decide the kind of writing they want to do.
Yes, and you can put what you've done into context in your statement.
Yes, yeah.
And I just wanted to ask a follow-up question there, because our students will also be submitting their research proposal, so a kind of description of the project that they want to pursue during the degree. Do you have any tips for that? What would excite you in a research proposal? Maybe Mitch.
Well, I guess. Sorry.
No, you're most excited, Joanne. Go for it. If you're excited.
Oh, I look excited. Yes. Well, again, it would be a description of a project that I'd want to read, something that was original or had an interesting take, or yes, just something that I would find interesting and that looked plausible and looked like the person thought about it. Because obviously, when you haven't done the project yet, you don't know how it's going to turn out. So you're not going to be tied down to every single detail in that proposal. But some sense that you've got a direction, you know what that direction involves. And also, one thing I'd add is don't be too thrown by the fact that it's called a research proposal. That's a university-wide thing. What we're asking you about is a long-form creative writing project. So mentally substitute that.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to stress, because sometimes people waste a lot of time talking about it from a very academic point of view, and really we just want to know what the project is. And it's great if you're thinking of it in, I don't know, post-feminist terms, or in terms of the environment or something like that. Put that in, but really it's what is this project going to be about? And we won't hold you to it if you suddenly veer off in something a completely different direction. We just want to know that you've really thought very carefully about how you're going to use these 2 years.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that answer. And I would just really like to underline what Joanne said, that you're not bound by it on entry to the degree. We just want to know what you're thinking about as you're coming in. So that project can and probably should evolve as you go on to pursue it later on and it becomes your dissertation. So yeah, something that excites us. So we're getting to the end of our questions, but what I wanted to ask now is, having both taught on the degree for a number of years, what have you both seen as the best kind of tactic for making the most out of your 2 years in this? I mean, Cambridge is a bit of a sort of idyll, and students get to come here and feel like they're escaping from the day-to-day world. What's the kind of top tip for making sure that they make the progress on their projects that they want to? I'll start with Midge and then go to Joanne.
So I would put those dates in your diary immediately. Tell everyone in your life that you are doing this course and how important it is. Make sure you have time for reading, put in the assignment deadlines as well, and really kind of make the most of it. Decide if there's, and this will depend on your commitments and other things. If you want to become expert in real tennis, then go for that. But don't take on too much. And remember that it's not just about, getting a half blue, or maybe it's a quarter blue in tiddlywinks. It's also about all the fantastic libraries that you've got access to at Cambridge, all of the museums, all the events, the conferences that go on, and really make the most of your time at Cambridge and use it as a way to open other doors as well. So it might allow you, particularly in creative nonfiction, to go to some archives that it would be harder to access if you didn't have a letter from one of us saying, yes, this person really needs to go to this archive for their project. So you could, as some people do, spend your whole life at Cambridge, but you only have 2 years in a way that is part-time. So think about what you really want to get out of it.
Fantastic. Thank you. And the same question to Joanne.
Well, I don't have much to add except just to emphasize again, make the most of the resources and the people and the connections available. You'll be matriculating at a college, so you'll join one of Cambridge's colleges as part of your package here. And colleges are interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. And I think there's nothing better for writers, because writers tend to be multidisciplinary. So get to know people. That the colleges will be full of people who do all sorts of things that they're very passionate about, that they want to tell you about. So go and find that out. And the libraries, again, I would emphasize. And also, you don't just have to walk into the physical libraries. If you've matriculated, you will have access to the most wonderful online resources all year round. So make the most of those.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Joanne. On that note, on the note of resources, this is a good time to begin to wrap up this session. So thank you very much for joining us. As has been highlighted in the chat down the side, there is a video link to the main AMA session. I would also suggest visiting our page for the MSc in Creative Writing, which should also include a link to a video explaining the MSc in Creative Writing, which Joanne has explained the structure of the course, which is very useful for those wanting to know more about where and when of the different modules in the course. For those who are based in Cambridge, at short notice, we are having an event on the 11th of December, Thursday, at Madingley Hall. At Newnham College in central Cambridge. So if you would like to attend that, then we will post the link to that event into the webinar chat as well. And finally, there will be a range of creative writing events, many of them creative non-fiction focused, coming up in coming months. And I'd just like to flag an excellent session we're looking forward to, in which Midge will talk to our former student Jill Damatak about Jill's wonderful memoir, Dirty Kitchen. Now, Jill is one of the students who has come through our MSc in creative writing, pursuing creative nonfiction, and gone on to great success writing this highly acclaimed piece of creative nonfiction. So we would love to have you join us at that particular time. Finally, if you also write poetry alongside creative nonfiction, the Propel Cambridge Poetry Prize is now open for entry. So do think about that. It has a generous cash prize and is another way to participate and be in touch with the MST in creative writing. So thank you very much for taking the time to attend or to watch this AMA session. And yes, thank you very much. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.